Hey, buddy, hit that subscribe. Just a sec for you, but it means the world to me. It was 3:15 in the morning when I finally took my headset off and stepped away from the desk. Not because I was scared, not because the situation was out of control, but because a few hours earlier, my company had looked me straight in the face and told me I was worth for 500, while another guy doing half the work walked away with $32,000. My name's David Turner. I'm 47 years old, and until a few months ago, I worked overnight cybersecurity in Austin, Texas. While most people were sleeping, I was staring at glowing monitors, stopping hackers from draining bank accounts and wrecking people's lives. I didn't quit with some dramatic speech or slam my laptop shut like in the movies. I just stood up slowly, like someone setting down a weight they'd been carrying for way too damn long. I worked nights for Apex Digital Security, a mid-level firm protecting financial networks. Nothing flashy. No applause. When something blew up at 2:30 a.m., my phone buzzed, and I handled it. If things went right, nobody heard a word. If things went wrong, night shift took the blame. That's how it always went. 5 of us rotated nights. A couple solid guys. One newbie still learning. One dude who was always busy when chaos hit. And then there was Jason Miller. 29 years old, day shift team lead, smooth talker, always relaxed like nothing could touch him. Jason loved saying stuff like, "Don't sweat it, Dave. Management knows who really holds this place together." Meanwhile, I was the one who stopped a massive breach last Christmas Eve while he was at some holiday party posting selfies. But I'd been around long enough to know how this game works. Praise is free. Panic costs money. So when our director of engineering, Lisa Reynolds, announced an all-hands meeting about retention bonuses, I already knew what time it was. She did the whole corporate performance, warm voice, big smile, talking about valuing critical contributors. I almost laughed. I'd been holding this place together at night for over 20 years. If I wasn't critical, then that word didn't mean a damn thing. After the meeting, bonuses were delivered privately. Jason got his call first. 5 minutes later, he jumped into our team chat acting fake humble. Didn't expect this, guys. Guess the company really showed some love. Then he sent me a private screenshot, like he'd hit the lottery. $32,000. Cash. 1-year commitment. He added, "Told you, Dave. They know who matters." My stomach didn't drop from jealousy. It dropped from clarity. I already knew my number. Lisa called me 20 minutes later. Camera on, smile locked in place. She thanked me for being a stabilizing presence on nights. Then she said it. For $1,500. Same 12-month commitment. Same clawback clause. Same confidentiality rules. I waited for her to correct herself. She didn't. That's when it hit me. Not anger, not rage, but the cold realization that this company had just told me exactly what I was worth to them, and they expected me to smile and say thank you. That night, while my daughter slept upstairs and hackers started probing our systems from overseas, I opened my personal budget spreadsheet. I typed $4,500. Then, right below it, $32,000. Not to torture myself, just to see the truth in black and white. And that was the moment I realized this wasn't about money anymore. It was about how long I was willing to let someone else decide my value. What I didn't know yet was that just a few hours later, the biggest cyber attack of my career would hit, and for the first time in 23 years, I wouldn't rush to save them. That same night, around 11:30 p.m., the alerts started popping. At first, nothing crazy, just light probing, the digital equivalent of someone jiggling a locked door to see if anyone's home. Pretty standard stuff. Happens every night. I sipped my coffee, leaned back, and started tracking the traffic patterns like muscle memory kicking in. Then it escalated. Fast. The alerts multiplied, stacked on top of each other, lighting up my screens like a Christmas tree from hell. This wasn't some bored kid running scripts from his mom's basement. This was coordinated. Clean. Patient. Eastern Europe, most likely. The kind of people who don't rush because they don't have to. Normally, this is where protocol kicks in. Block the IPs. Escalate up the chain. Wake up the incident response team. Drag half the company out of bed. so they can ask questions they should already know the answers to. But here was the problem. Our protocols were outdated as hell. I'd flagged that months ago. Lisa told me to focus on execution, not process improvements. So yeah, here we were. My phone buzzed. Jason. Hey, Dave. Seeing some weird activity on the dashboard. You got eyes on this? I stared at the screen. 3 different attack vectors now. Slow, deliberate, testing boundaries. I glanced at another monitor where Lisa's retention agreement sat open in my inbox. 12-month commitment. Immediate repayment if I left early. Confidential bonus clause. At-will employment still in effect. They wanted me locked in while keeping themselves completely free. I typed back, yeah, I see it. By 12:45 a.m., the attackers shifted tactics. That's when my spine tightened. Instead of hammering the customer portal, they pivoted toward internal admin systems, the keys to the whole damn kingdom. If they cracked that, it wasn't just one bank at risk. It was everything. That's when it hit me. This wasn't random. They knew our schedule. They knew nights were thin. They knew exactly when the people with titles and bonuses were asleep in their suburban homes. This attack was timed like a sniper shot. My phone rang again. Unknown number. International code. Romania. I didn't answer. Real pros don't call to brag. They stay quiet. But the call told me something important. They knew someone competent was watching, and they were trying to rattle me. At 1:15 a.m., I had a choice. Option 1. Follow protocol, wake everyone up, babysit executives through a crisis they didn't understand, then watch Dave's shift take credit for team effort. Option 2. Handle it myself, like I'd done for over 2 decades. But instead, I chose option 3. I started documenting everything. Screenshots, logs, timelines, every alert time-stamped. Every escalation delayed because leadership didn't prioritize night coverage. Not for the company. For me, at 2:15 a.m., things crossed a line. The attackers were inside admin controls. Jason messaged again. This is getting kind of intense. Should we loop in Lisa? I stared at that sentence longer than I probably should have. Loop in Lisa. The same Lisa who said I was worth $4,500. The same Lisa who told me to stop pushing for better defenses. The same Lisa who was dead asleep while people's life savings were on the line. I typed back, your call. You're the team lead. Typing bubbles appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally, I think you should call her. You know this stuff better than anyone. There it was. The truth nobody wanted to say out loud. When things get real, they come to me. The $4,500 guy. At 2:45 a.m., Lisa finally answered. Groggy. Annoyed. Is this urgent, David? I watched the breach deepen in real time. Yes, I said calmly. They're inside admin systems. Silence. Can you stop it? She asked. I could have. I'd stopped worse with fewer resources. But instead, I looked at my screens, then at the open retention agreement, then at the clock. Probably, I said. Then do whatever you have to do, she snapped. And that's when something inside me finally clicked into place. Because at 3:10 a.m., after walking her through technical basics she should have known, she said it again. Just fix it, David. And I realized they didn't value me. They used me. 5 minutes later, at 3:15 a.m., I made a decision that would cost them millions and give me my life back at 3:15 a.m. I stood up from my desk. No dramatic music. No yelling. No last speech typed into Slack. I just reached up, unplugged my headset, and sat on the desk like I was returning something that never really belonged to me in the first place. Then I slid my security badge off the lanyard. That tiny click when it hit the desk, louder than any argument I could have made. And I walked away. Not fast, not slow, just done. Here's the thing people don't tell you about moments like that. You don't feel panic. You don't feel fear. What you feel is quiet. Like your brain finally stops running emergency drills it's been stuck in for years. The attack didn't magically stop because I left. Hackers don't pack up and go home out of respect. They kept probing, kept pushing. The difference was, for the first time in 23 years, it wasn't my problem to clean up. I went upstairs, poured a glass of water, and sat in the dark. My daughter was asleep in her room, textbooks spread across her bed like she'd passed out mid-study session. Pre-med, smart as hell, works harder than anyone I know. I've been killing myself on night shift telling myself it was all worth it, for her, for stability, for someday. That night, I realized someday had been lying to me. By 6 a.m., Apex finally contained the breach. Took them almost 3 hours to stop something I could have shut down in 30 minutes. 3 hours of exposure. 3 hours of clients panicking. 3 hours of executives scrambling because the safety net they assumed existed didn't. By the time I woke up later that morning, my phone looked like it had been in a fight. Slack messages, missed calls, texts from numbers I hadn't heard from in years. Lisa called 5 times. Didn't leave a voicemail once. That told me everything. Confident managers leave messages. Scare ones just keep dialing. I checked my work email once, just once. Overnight tickets stacked up like unpaid bills. One European client escalated straight to their VP. Another hinted at contract penalties. Buried in the chaos was a calendar invite titled Emergency Coverage Discussion. No agenda, no details. Classic. And that's when it really hit me. This wasn't one bad night. This was a pattern I'd been ignoring for decades. Nights were invisible. Fixes in the dark didn't count. Problem solved quietly didn't earn respect. Only daytime confidence and loud leadership did. I started pulling documentation. Not angrily, calmly. Performance reviews, incident logs, certifications I paid for out of pocket. Every major breach I'd stopped in the last year, between midnight and 6 a.m. The data told the story better than I ever could. Then I reread the retention agreement. That's where the real insult lived. Buried in the fine print was a clause that basically said, if you sign this, your workload stays the same no matter what. Staffing changes, not their problem. Incident spikes, not their problem. For 12 months, they owned your availability. For Jason, that meant day shift meetings and visibility. For me, that meant being the last line of defense every single night for $4,500. By Wednesday, Paul Henderson, our VP of Operations, finally called me directly. We'd spoken maybe 3 times in 23 years, and every time was because something was already on fire. David, he said, skipping pleasantries. We're seeing fallout from Monday night. Lisa says you have the most context. Context, not authority, not ownership. Context. Can you jump on a call and help us stabilize this? I thought about the unsigned retention agreement, the clawback clause, the bonus gap, the way they suddenly remembered my value when everything started breaking. I can, I said, but I won't. Silence. Why not? He asked. Because that's what the retention bonus was for. I replied, you already decided who to pay to fix emergencies. He sighed. This isn't the time for that conversation. It's the only time, I said. He hung up, and that's when things really started unraveling. By Friday, the company's status page flipped from green to yellow to orange. Someone made the mistake of mentioning internal resource constraints. Clients don't like hearing that the people protecting their money aren't available. That afternoon, Jason called me. Not a message. A real call. Dave, he said, keyboard clicking in the background. Look, man, I know you're mad about the bonus, but I'm in over my head here. No apology. No acknowledgement. Just need. You got the bonus. I said, this is what it's for. He tried to argue. I ended the call. By the following Monday, Apex's status page turned red, and that's when leadership panic turned into full-blown damage control. BY Monday morning, Apex's status page went red. Not minor issue red. Not monitoring the situation red. Full-blown, clients are sweating, executives are pacing red. That's the color companies fear most, not because of the tech, but because of the visibility. Red means questions. Red means phone calls. Red means someone's about to get thrown under a bus. And the wild part? The systems weren't actually broken. They were just undefended, like a house with all the locks removed but the doors still standing. Everything looked fine until someone tested it. And when clients started testing, Apex didn't have answers, just excuses. That Tuesday, Lisa emailed me directly. No CCs, no corporate fluff. 3 lines. David, we need to talk. What will it take? I stared at it longer than I expected to. Then I replied with exactly 3 sentences. I'm open to discussing compensation aligned with industry standards, a clear advancement path, and transition to day shift coverage. Until then, I'm not available for emergency support. This is professional, not punitive. Within an hour, HR joined the thread. By afternoon, legal showed up too. That's never a good sign. They weren't looping in lawyers to protect me. They were looping them in because someone finally asked a question nobody wanted answered. How does one guy walking away cripple our entire night operation? That question doesn't lead to promotions. It leads to audits. By Thursday, the internal narrative shifted. People stopped asking me to help out and started asking who approved what and when and why. Someone noticed night shift performance reviews were capped at meets expectations no matter what you did. Someone else noticed retention bonuses had 0 documented criteria. Another person noticed Jason signed his bonus agreement just hours before the incident he couldn't handle. Lisa stopped replying to emails altogether. Calendar invites, title review, and follow-up started popping up, booked by people who had never joined a 2 a.m. call and never asked how outages were fixed. They didn't need explanations. They had logs, timelines, emails, signed agreements with wildly different dollar amounts for the same role. Lisa disappeared first. Official story? Pursuing other opportunities. Unofficial reality? Her name vanished from the directory without a goodbye email. Anyone who's been in corporate long enough knows. That wasn't mutual. Jason lasted longer. He tried to step up, posted updates, volunteered for calls, talked louder in meetings. But visibility works both ways. When people started asking real technical questions, his answers got thin fast. He wasn't dumb. He just didn't know the systems like he thought he did. And now everyone could see it. 3 weeks after I walked out, a recruiter I'd spoken to years ago reached out. Day shift role, bigger company, same technical scope, but with actual growth, real support, and leadership that understood cybersecurity isn't just keeping an eye on things. The interview was different. No proving myself. No justifying nights. They already knew about the Apex incident. Word travels fast in this industry. We're not looking for someone to clean up messes in the dark, the hiring manager said. We're looking for someone who builds systems so messes don't happen. The offer came back the same day. More base pay, better benefits, no retention handcuffs. I accepted without hesitation. HR from Apex emailed me midweek. Careful wording. No apology. They just wanted to close the loop. I sent a clean resignation. 2 paragraphs. No drama. Legal signed off in under an hour. That told me everything. Jason made it through his full 12 months, but never saw another bonus. That was the real karma. Not explosive, not cinematic, just watching his career stall while he realized how much he didn't actually know. As for me, the first time my phone rang at 2 a.m. at my new job, it was a wrong number. I silenced it and went right back to sleep because walking away wasn't the dramatic part. The real twist came later, when I realized the fallout wasn't over, and Apex was still paying a price for choosing the wrong person to keep. Apex thought the worst of it was over once the incident faded from a news cycle inside the company. The systems were stable. The dashboards were green again. Executives went back to sleeping through the night. On paper, it looked like they'd survived. In reality, the bill had just started arriving. Clients don't forget red status pages. They don't forget vague explanations or delayed responses. And they definitely don't forget being told that internal resource constraints almost cost them millions. Insurance providers quietly adjusted premiums. Contract renewals suddenly came with more questions, more audits, more clauses. Every one of those conversations started the same way. What changed? The answer was simple. The people who actually knew how to protect the systems weren't there anymore. Inside Apex, the mood shifted. The confidence disappeared. Every overnight alert turned into a fire drill. Every unusual log entry triggered panic. They hired contractors, then more contractors, then consultants who charged triple my old hourly rate just to explain problems I'd already solved years ago. And the wild part? They still didn't fix night coverage. Jason tried to hold it together. He stayed late, took calls he wasn't ready for, started leaning hard on documentation I'd written, half of which he never really understood. When things broke, he froze. When audits came, he talked in circles. Visibility finally did what silence never could. It exposed the gap between confidence and competence. 6 months after his retention period ended, he left. No celebration. No farewell post. Just another quiet exit. Meanwhile, my life actually got easier. I worked day shift, ate dinner at a normal hour, slept through the night. The stress I thought was just part of the job faded so slowly I didn't notice it at first. Then one morning, I realized my jaw wasn't clenched anymore. My shoulders weren't locked up. My phone wasn't the first thing I checked when I woke up. My daughter started her sophomore year that fall. Pre-med, just like she planned. Tuition was covered, half by my new company's program, the rest by a salary I didn't have to bleed for. The night before classes started, she texted me from the library. Proud of me? I typed back without thinking. More than you know. For 23 years, I believed if I stayed loyal, worked harder, solved problems quietly, eventually someone would notice. Eventually, I'd be valued. Turns out, that's not how it works. Companies don't reward sacrifice. They reward visibility. And sometimes they confuse noise for value. That $27,500 gap between bonuses didn't just change my job. It changed how I see work entirely. My worth was never tied to how much punishment I could absorb. I just let them treat it that way for too long. And here's the real lesson: why walking away was a revenge, and why refusing to be undervalued again was the smartest move I ever made. People love revenge stories. They want explosions, firings, public apologies, someone getting embarrassed in a meeting. That's not how this one ends. The truth is way quieter than that. Apex didn't collapse overnight. There wasn't a dramatic lawsuit or a headline screaming failure. What happened instead was slower and way more painful for them. Trust eroded. Costs crept up. Confidence disappeared. Every fix took longer. Every incident required more people, more approvals, more money. That's what happens when you lose the people who actually understand how things work. They didn't lose me when I walked out at 3:15 a.m. They lost me years earlier, when they decided loyalty was cheap and experience was optional. And the funny part? I wasn't angry anymore. Anger keeps you tied to places that don't deserve you. Walking away cut that cord clean. No bitterness. No late night what-if thoughts. Just clarity. At my new job, no one brags about bonuses. No one pretends confidence is competence. When something breaks, the goal isn't to look good. It's to fix it and learn from it. That's the difference between a company that survives and one that actually lasts. Sometimes people ask me if I regret not sticking it out, if maybe I should have waited, negotiated harder, played the game longer. Nah, because here's the thing nobody tells you until you're already exhausted. If a company only realizes your value once you're gone, they never truly valued you to begin with. Walking away wasn't weakness. It wasn't quitting. It was choosing myself. These days, my phone stays quiet at night. When it buzzes at 2 a.m., it's usually just my daughter pulling another late study session, asking if I'm proud of her. I always answer the same way. Every time. Because I'm not measuring my worth by how tired I am anymore. I'm not proving value through sacrifice. I'm not fixing other people's messes just to be told thanks and handed scraps. They paid to keep the wrong person. I just stopped pretending that was my responsibility to fix. And that's the part nobody prepares you for. The moment you realize peace is worth more than any bonus they could have offered.